Good morning. Good morning, my friends. How are we on this Monday morning? It's a bit grey, it's a bit blowy, but well, we're told there's good things to come. So I've got a really nice session for us today. I'm really looking forward to it. Sometimes I sort of run through it beforehand, but I haven't today. And all I can think about is, oh, my shoulders feel stiff. I feel a bit stiff. So I'm just going to crack on with it. So I'm hoping you're feeling well. You might feel a little bit stiff too, but if you're not feeling well, remember, just avoid this session till you're feeling better. You can come back to the link at any time and you can watch it as a recorded. But for now, we are live together and let's get started, shall we? What we're going to need, you can see half my mat here. I've got a little towel to support my head when I'm lying on my back or on my front, and I've got a you'll be sick of me saying this, I've got a resistance band and they're never using it. So let's see if we can bring in some leg circles today, shall we? Okay, before we get started, we're just going to think about just our focus for today. So last week I was really, it was all about the breathing. And this week it's all about the center. So when I talk about the center, I'm talking about this trunk, okay? So not the arms, not the legs, but shoulders down to pelvis. And what we're going to try and do is imagine everything starting from this core area between the ribs and the pelvis. So when you initiate a movement, we're going to think about it starting right here, sort of somewhere between where my hands are. So that's going to mean we need to be aware of our spine. So we need to be aware if we sort of exaggerate that curve in the lower half of the spine and try and just bring it back to that more natural curve. We're going to just be aware if we're a little bit round shouldered. We're going to be aware of if we naturally start everything with the shoulders. So we're going to think about sliding those shoulders down, sliding the shoulder blades down that back, lengthening through the spine before we then tighten our belt and before we initiate that movement. So we'll use this warm up just to get practicing. So we're just going to stand nice and tall, feet hip width apart. And we're going to see if we can loosen off these shoulders a little bit. So we're just going to squeeze up and then we're going to slide these shoulders down. It was quite interesting. I was listening to a radio broadcast. I think it was Radio 2, Zoe Ball, I'm sure it was. She was talking to her. She often just starts the day by drawing the shoulders up to 12 o'clock and then breathing out and letting them slowly relax down. I thought, oh, that's what we do. So really nice way just to start everything up. Breathing in as we squeeze the shoulders up. Breathing out, just letting those shoulders go. Really let them go. Just see how far they'll actually go if you give them the time. A lot further than I always think they're going to be able to. And then we're just going to walk these feet out just a little bit wider. And we're going to be a little bit careful of what's around us. We're just going to let these hips go. Let these shoulders go, and we're going to take that spine swing. So we might want to start really nice and small, and some of us will stay small. Some of us will be able to just gradually increase that movement, but let's not force it. Let's just allow this body to go where it feels it wants to. And then we'll come back to center. Come back to center. Just let those arms find their way home. Come back with those feet hip width apart, and we're just going to make some little circles. And again, a little warm up for these shoulders. So gradually increasing the range of these circles and find your limit. So your limit may well be here, but try not to push into pain. So we're just working within that sweet spot, if that makes sense, not pushing out of it. And then we're going to take one more and we'll just let these arms again come back. And then we're going to move those feet, find that comfortable position. We're going to think about the weight distribution through our feet. So we're going to take our weight into that front part of the foot and then into the heel. But we're keeping those feet relaxed, toes spread. And just really allow that weight transfer. We're not lifting the balls of the feet off the floor. We're not lifting the heels off the floor. We're just noticing that weight transfer, and we're going to make it smaller and smaller till we arrive in that mid part of the foot. Just imagine those feet growing roots down into the floor. Let those toes spread. And then we're going to imagine that long, long spine. We're going to think about that little piece of thread in the crown of the head. And instead of looking up maybe or looking down, we're going to look straight ahead. So I can just gently pull that thread. And you can feel that space opening up between each little segment of the spine. And then we're going to just make those little rocking movements. I'm going to turn so you can see me from the side. Those little rocking movements with that pelvis to try and find that neutral spine. Good. And when you find that midpoint, just hold it there. And we're going to bring those hands just into those lower abdominals. And we're going to imagine that we're tightening that corset, that big muscle around here. And we're going to draw that muscle in away from the hands. Nothing else moves. So remember, we're starting from that strong trunk position. We're going to draw those muscles away from the hands as hard as you can. That's notch 10. And then we're going to release. So we don't want 10. We're going to see if we can take it to half of your maximum. Draw away. Release. And then we're going to take it to notch 3. So about a third of your maximum. And I'm going to keep reminding you by telling you to zip up your corset or tighten that belt, always to about that gentle contraction, 30% of the maximum. And just let those arms relax by your side. Think about breathing in, and as we breathe out, we're going to come into those side bends. So we're going to warm up that lower back. See if you can keep that nice relaxation in the shoulders. Think about that sideways movement. So imagine you've got a wall in front of you and a wall right behind you. You can't lean forwards and you can't lean backwards. The only way to go is sideways. And we've got that lovely openness in the shoulders. Shoulders are relaxed. We're not leaning forwards. We're breathing out as we move away from center. And then breathing in. And then we're going to just gently lift the heels off the floor, bring them back down. So we're going to think about breathing out as we lift, breathing in to return. We've got that belt or that corset, just gently tighten to notch 3. We've got those relaxed shoulders, long spine. And remember, everything today is going to start here. So we're going to make sure we got that neutral spine, tighten that belt, then move. And we're going to move in time with our breathing. So there's a lot of mindful movement going on here, a lot of mindful activity. We're going to take our focus internally to our breathing, to our belt, to our trunk. And then we'll bring those heels down. Now we're just going to gently drop that chin down to the chest. And then imagine that I'm just lifting that head, allowing that spine to lengthen. We're going to bring these fingertips together. And as if you were buried in sand all the way up to that belly button, we're going to take that gentle twist one way, come back to center. So we're thinking about that long spine. If you had a tail, it would be hanging straight down towards the floor. Shoulders are soft. Just imagine those shoulder blades sliding down into that soft V, the bottom of your spine. And we're breathing out as we move away from center, breathing in to return. And then we'll just bring those arms. You might want to give those arms a little shake. Just give those legs a little shake, quite static for a while. And then come back to that really nice neutral spine position. So remember, you might want to practice that tilting of the pelvis just to get that lower back into neutral. Imagine that tail hanging down towards the floor. We're going to allow those shoulder blades to slide down that back. And then we're going to start everything from this trunk area. So we're going to lengthen tighten that belt. Come into our arm floats. So we're gently bringing that arm to shoulder level and then just allowing that arm to float down. So if I show you from this angle, we're keeping those shoulders relaxed as the arm lengths as it floats, leading with that thumb. We're not lifting from that shoulder, we're sliding that shoulder blade down the back towards the bottom. And notice what happens in the trunk as that arm floats. We want to help it. We want to push that belly forwards, but we're not going to let it because we're going to stabilize here and just allow that shoulder to move. And then we're going to change sides. So again, we're tightening that belt, lengthening through that spine, not allowing that trunk to assist this movement. So we're breathing out into those fingertips, breathing in, just gently finding that range, not forcing that range, not lifting that shoulder, not pushing that belly forwards. Good. And then both arms together, we're going to open. And we're going to breathe into those armpits, really open out that chest. So we're going to breathe in and we're going to breathe out. Good. This time, as we breathe out, we're going to keep those heels down, but we're going to just gently bend those knees. So if I show you from this angle, we're coming down and we've got that nice long back, neutral spine. So we're going to come into that standing cat stretch. So first of all, we're just going to rock that pelvis. So we're going to tilt that pelvis as if you had a long tail and you're pushing that tail between your knees. Now, when you feel comfortable, we're going to then draw that spine behind you, drop that chin to the chest. So we're going to breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in. And as we breathe out, really draw that tummy button in. Now, on that outward breath, we're just going to let that chest relax over those thighs, let that head go. Let those arms go, and then we're going to push that tail, that imaginary tail down towards your heels, and then we're going to roll up. We're going to start with that tailbone. We're going to stack each little segment of that spine on top of the other, one at a time, so we come back up to that long spine, straighten out those legs. Good. Should we try that again? So we're going to breathe in. And then as we breathe out, we're going to bend those knees, come into that long spine. We're going to take that standing cat stretch, and then you're going to just let that chest relax, let those head and arms relax. We're going to roll up through that spine, tightening that belt, controlling that movement with those abdominals, coming up, straightening those legs. One more time, I'm going to show you from this angle. Breathing in, breathing out, long spine. We're going to take that standing cat stretch. We're breathing out, drawing that tummy button in, and then just letting that head relax. Just letting those arms become floppy. And then in your time, tightening that belt, just stacking that spine as if that set of building blocks, one block at a time, starting at the bottom, finishing with that head. Good. And then we're going to just finish our warm up with some shoulder rolls. We're going to really focus on relaxing those shoulders down away from the ears. Good. And then let's try a standing balance to finish. So we're going to find that lovely long spine. So we're going to think in terms of this movement starting here. Now, if you're not sure, we can hold onto a wall. And I also find it easy if the feet are a little bit closer together to get that initial balance. Now we're going to tighten this belt. Just breathe in to prepare. And as you do that, just lift one heel off the floor. And as you breathe out, really tighten that belt, lengthen that spine. We're going to lift that foot off the floor. And then when you feel ready, bring it back. We'll try the same on the other side. So we're just starting by lifting the heel. When you feel comfortable, when you feel ready, we'll take that foot off the floor. It doesn't have to be a big movement. Coming from here. Good. And then when you feel ready, bring it down. Now, if you feel confident, we could add a little bit of arm movement, but only do this if you're very, very stable on one leg. So with that spirit level resting over the hip bones, we could maybe just bring some arm movement in. You might take it a little bit higher. Good. Using that breathing to control the flow. Remember, we're starting from here. Let's try that on the other leg. So tightening that belt, heel, relax those shoulders, breathing out, breathing in. Ooh, there I go. And bringing it down. Good. And then we'll just finish with that little spine swing, just to relax. Can't help but be a little bit tense sometimes with that balance. And then we'll come back to center. So we're going to bring ourselves down onto our mat next. So however you prefer to come down into a kneeling position, we're going to come into 4-point kneeling, and then we're going to do some cat stretches in that position. So if you're comfortable just getting down that way, that's fine. If you would like to practice those roll downs, remember, we're just going to tighten that belt, drop the chin to the chest, and then just gently lift that chest over the imaginary beach ball at your feet. So remember that those arms become floppy, that head becomes floppy, and we're just going down. We're not forcing it. You might want to take 1, 2, 3, or 4 goes before you bring yourself onto the mat. It's a really nice way of warming up. That's fine. So while you do your chosen method of coming down, I'm going to bring, very sophisticated, I know, same joke every week. Let's change this camera angle so you can see the mat. Okay, I think that's fairly even. So you'll be able to see about half of me coming into that roll down. So I'm going to stand at the edge of my mat and then using that breath, just allowing myself to relax into this move, bending those knees, walking myself out into this 4-point kneeling position. So we're going to just spend a little bit of time thinking about our alignment so that we can really get this trunk position right. So we've got those knees hip width apart, palms shoulder width apart, and those arms are coming straight down from the shoulders. Now if I turn my angle a little bit, as soon as they're here or here, we're starting to put a lot of stress on the shoulders. So bring that hand underneath. And then the next thing we want to try and do, we all tend to do that, bending the arms. See if we can straighten through those arms. And then just imagine that little orange between your chin and the chest. We're going to look at that invisible line at the top of that mat. Now, once we're there, we're going to draw those shoulders down away from the ears. So slide those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom. And then once we've got that top half as good as it can be, we're going to just think about this lower spine. So we're going to gently tilt that pelvis. So it's like that bucket of water move. I like to think in terms of that tail. So if we were a dog, I'm going to push my tail between my legs, and then I'm going to just let that tail go up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to find that midpoint where the tail is sticking straight out behind you. Now, what we're going to do at this point is imagine that I've lit a fire underneath your belly. Now, you'll notice your arms might be burning at this point. Hold it there if you can, my friends. If you need to go into child's pose, go into child's pose. But we're going to push the palms down into the mat, and then we're going to look towards the knees, draw that spine up to the ceiling, push that tail between your knees, come back to that long spine that we started with. So we're breathing out, tightening that belt, breathing in, draw those shoulders away from the ears, breathing out and breathing in. Good. We're going to take one more, okay? Now from this position, let's come back into that child's pose, but we're going to bring those elbows just behind the knees and relax those shoulders. You might even need to roll those shoulders a little bit. Whoo! So, I thought we'd try and build in a little bit more upper body strength as much as possible over the next couple of weeks. So my reasoning being is that if we're sort of on the floor, in the garden, doing stuff, we sort of need enough strength to be able to get off the floor. We need to be able to push ourselves up. It's very functional, I'm thinking about. So we're going to be careful of shoulder injuries. We're going to be careful not to push into any pain. So if anything doesn't work, I want you to come out of it into that child's pose or another relaxed position. And we'll build as the weeks go on. Now, what I thought we'd do next is just come onto our fronts. So we're going to start working on this lower back. So we've done quite a lot of sort of what we call flexion in that cat position. So we're going to work the back muscles and we're going to work the glutes as well. So if you need that towel underneath your head to maintain that nice long neck, and we're going to come down just into that W position with the hands. So really slide those shoulders away from the ears. Now all we're going to do is tighten that belt again. But before we do that, just watch out that we're not allowing that back to arch and that tummy to dome into the mat. So you might want to go for that rocking of the pelvis again. And you might think, oh, actually, yeah, I do tend to just let that tummy sink down. So find that long spine, tail sticking straight out behind you, and then just draw those lower abdominals away from the mat. Now we're going to relax the shoulders again. All we're going to do, tighten those bottom muscles, and we're going to just lift that chest away from the mat. Draw those shoulder blades down that back. Breathe in, we're going to come back down. So we're lifting the breastbone. We're going to do 8 to 10 of these. So we're breathing out. Let's be very mindful about this exercise. So tightening that belt, tightening the bottom muscles. Good, lifting that chest, breathing out, pausing at the top just for a split second, coming back down. And let's see if we can bring some flow into these movements. So we're breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, drawing those shoulder blades down that back. Relax the shoulders as much as you can. So you can see we're working these muscles here. Good. Now, when you've done your 8 to 10, we're going to relax that head on the mat and just bring those hands by your side and then just let those shoulders relax, let the palms face upwards. Now, what we're going to do, tighten that belt, lengthen that spine. We are going to rotate the shoulders so the palms are facing your thighs and release. Good. So we're breathing out. Now, as you rotate, see if you can almost reach for the side of your knees. Good. So we're just tightening that belt. Good. Now, if you feel comfortable, we are going to lift the chest at the same time. You can stay with that shoulder movement just on its own if you're not comfortable lifting the chest. Good. Keep that little orange between your chin and the chest. Keep drawing that tummy button away from the mat, as if this mat is freezing cold and the last thing your belly button wants to do is to touch it. So we're really drawing it in. Good. Rolling those shoulders, really retracting those shoulders, reaching for the side of those knees, tightening that bottom, lengthening through that spine as you come back down. And I'm going to do one more. If you need a couple more, that's fine. If you need a couple less, that's fine. reach and relax. Okay, my friends, take those hands either side of your chest. We're going to push ourselves back up into that cat stretch position. Long spine. So remember, shoulders drawn away from the ears. And then we're going to draw that spine to the ceiling. Good. Breathe out. Let's find this flow. Breathing out. Drawing those shoulder blades down the back. Sticking that tail straight out behind you. Good. We're going to take one more of these and then we're coming down into that child's pose position. So flexing that spine, and then from there, this time I'm going to leave my hands where they are and I'm going to slide them forwards to get that lovely stretch in the shoulders. Still got that little orange between my chin and my chest, and just finding that comfortable position. So if this is not comfortable for you, find some relaxing position that you can come into. And then we're going to slide these hands back. So I'm hoping all okay so far. From here, one last little kneeling position. We're going to think about coming into that kneeling position. Now, I'm going to give you an alternative for this. So if the arms and the shoulders have had enough, we're going to come into that prone position with those hands in a W position next to you. So this can be done swimming prone, or it can be done in a kneeling position. So you have the option. The main aim is to work the core muscles, the back muscles, and the glutes. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's prone or kneeling. We're going to just find that nice, comfortable position. We're going to let that little orange between the chin and the chest. Make sure we're not lifting that chin. And then we're going to tighten that belt. Good. I'm just going to adjust my knees ever so slightly. Now, if we're kneeling, we're just going to push that big toe away from center as though we're pushing through wet sand, and then we're coming back. Now, watch what happens with the trunk and the shoulders. So remember, our aim today is for everything to start from this core. So we don't want any wobbling, any shoulders creeping up. We're just going to tighten that belt and control the movement. So we're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. Drag that toe back. We're going to breathe out. I'm doing alternate legs if you can. We're going to breathe in. We're going to aim for 8 on each side. I'm going to show you again what it looks like on your front. So if we're doing prone, we're going to do this. So we're squeezing that bottom muscle, working those back muscles, drawing that tummy button in. So that's our alternative to kneeling. If we're kneeling, we're going to imagine you've got a plate of peas just on your lower back. Now, if you wanted to up the challenge, once we push that toe as far away in that wet sand as you want, we can squeeze the glute, lengthen that leg behind you. Imagine you've got headlights on your hip bones, and those headlights are shining on that mat. So don't let the headlights wobble. Don't let them turn. Good. We're breathing out. And we're breathing in. Now, when we've done 8 on each side, we're going to tilt that pelvis, come back into that child's pose. And we're going to relax. Breathe out. And then when you feel ready, bring those elbows in, really relax those shoulders. So in that static position, we've worked really, really hard. So once you've had enough rest, we're just going to bring those knees together ever so slightly. We're going to bring ourselves onto our sides. So we're going to start in that nice long line. And when we're doing this, we're going to try and make sure those heels aren't behind you. Because again, it tends to force that back into into a sort of arch. So either heels in line with that tailbone or slightly in front, like a banana. Okay, so then we're going to make sure those hips are stacked, one on top of the other. You can use that towel in between your arm and your head if you like, if you need a little bit more support. I'm just going to use my arm. I'm just going to make sure I've got a tendency to roll backwards, just to cheat, because it stops me rolling. So I'm going to just try and balance one hip bone on top of the other. Now, we may find we need a bit of support. I definitely need it on the other side. I'm slightly more stable on this side, possibly. So we're going to start with that side leg lift. So all I'm going to do is draw this waist away from the floor, create some space there. And then we're just going to lengthen this top leg so it's about hip level. And you may find you can do these leg lifts with one leg on the floor. You may find you can float that lower leg. So if you feel comfortable, tighten that belt, squeeze that inner thigh so that we're floating that lower leg off the floor. Then knees facing forwards. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. So we're going to take our awareness into this shoulder. Draw that shoulder away from the ear. Imagine you're like that graceful swan. So you're swimming, furious movement going on in this core, but to the casual observer, you look elegant. We're breathing out and we're breathing in. So again, we're going to do 8 to 10 of these. If you want to do a few more, you can do a few more. If you want to do a few less, it's all about challenging that body. So the last couple of repetitions should feel challenging but not impossible. And then we know there's going to be an effect. The body will make changes. So if it's too easy, there'll be no change. If it's too hard, there'll be a lot of soreness. You may not be able to do your day-to-day activity. There may even be a loss of function as you get over that overexertion. Now we're going to hold that top leg ever so slightly higher than hip level. If you can now really draw in, we're going to squeeze that lower thigh up towards the top thigh. So again, I'm looking for 8 to 10, but you'll be the best judge of the final number of repetitions. Good, relax that shoulder. So the work is going on here, not from those shoulders. They're not stabilizing you. They're just nice and relaxed, and we're making sure the right muscles are stabilizing you. Now, we're going to just take this leg down. Now, only if you feel comfortable with this. If you're not, you can come out of it. Just bring those knees down, bend them and relax. We're going to aim for 4 double leg lifts. So we're just lifting, slowly lowering. So we're squeezing this area here between the ribs and the pelvis. Imagine you're shortening that area. Good. Controlled up and down. Okay, I'm just going to do one more of these. Feel free to do some more if you need to. Then I'm going to lower this lower leg, lower the top leg, bend those knees. Wonderful. Let's just see if we can bring that arm overhead, get a nice stretch down that trunk. And if you feel comfortable, just push that heel away from center. Breathe out, breathe in, bring this arm back. So we're now got a 90-degree angle at the knee where it got that bent knee position. So this is a good opportunity to stretch out those chest muscles, get that rotation going. So I'm going to pop my towel here underneath my head, bring those arms so the palms are facing each other into that open door. So we're going to imagine that I've clamped your hips into place and we're just opening that arm, breathing out as we open, breathing in to return. Breathing out. So you might feel that stretch somewhere around the chest, the armpit, front of that shoulder. Again, we're not pushing into pain. It's a really lovely opening movement for the shoulders and the chest. Great for those of us that do a lot of paperwork or a lot of driving. And then we're going to bring this arm back. Could just lie here now, couldn't we? All right, what we're going to do, instead of just lying there, we're going to push ourselves up onto our side. I think we might have done this last week. Before we change sides, we're going to see if we can bring that arm directly underneath the shoulder again. So relax the shoulders. We're going to sit up nice and tall. And we don't want that hand here again, if you can avoid it. So here, and we're going to just really draw that tummy button in. We're going to look up to the ceiling, and then we're just going to post this. Actually, forget that. Bring it here. Bring it here. That's what I wanted to do. That elbow, not the hand. Forgive me, friends. It is Monday morning. I was thinking, oh, that doesn't feel quite as it should. That's because I was doing the wrong movement. So elbow underneath that shoulder so that chest is open. Okay. Now, if you don't like this, I'm going to get you just to come into our mermaid stretch. And all we're going to do is we're going to look up to that hand, and then we're going to post that hand between the elbow and the hips. Breathe in, draw that belly button in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And then 3 on that side. Push ourselves up to that straddle position. So we're going to take these feet nice and comfortably, nice long spine. So remember, we're going to try and avoid that. See if you can really push that tailbone into the floor and stack each little segment of that spine. Remember, you can sit on your towel to help lengthen through that spine. Now, relax these shoulders, draw up that pelvic floor, and we're going to breathe out. Breathe in, relax those shoulders, okay? Breathe out. Breathe in. Just soften that elbow that's supporting you. Relax those toes. Mine is sort of like really tense. And release. Okay, take a little roll of those shoulders. We're going to walk those feet back together, and we're going to change sides. So I'm just going to grab my towel, and we're going to bring these feet this way. Lovely. So we've got that nice 90-degree angle at the knee again, except we're not going to use it. I forget. We're going to lengthen. So we need to stack those hips. I'm just going to move that band out of the way. So remember, try and make sure this hip's on top of the other. So let that head rest on the arm. Now this is the side that I need a little bit more sort of, oh, excuse the dog. It's all going wrong, friends. Well, it's not really, is it? But excuse the noise for a moment. Now, we've got those hips stacked. We're going to draw this tummy button in, and we're going to see if we can float this leg. Now, you may find you can relax that arm here, but just keep that shoulder slid away. Try not to let it collapse. Good. So then if you feel you can take that lower leg, floating it upwards, great. And then we're going to see if we can take that leg lift so that knee is facing forwards. We're not trying to overreach with this leg distance. So when we do that, we tend to sort of start to push those hips in the opposite way. So just find your range. We all have a very different hip range. Lots of it isn't dependent on how good you are at Pilates. It's dependent on the actual joint. So just go easy with this one. Find that point that we're working the muscles, mobilizing the hip, but not overreaching. Good. So keep drawing that belt-like muscle to 3. We're looking straight ahead, shoulder nice and relaxed. Good. Now, when we've done our 8 to 10 of these,
We're just going to let that leg rest slightly higher than that hip level. And we're going to see if we can squeeze up. Now, as I squeeze up, I almost want to dome my belly outwards. So really focus. You might have to focus on tightening that belt just a little bit more than normal. Maybe a 4, maybe a 5. Good. Keep that nice stable trunk. Remember, it's starting in the middle. The movement is then just flowing out towards those feet. And when we've done our maybe 8 of these, we're going to just lower that leg slightly. Lower the top leg. Now, only if you feel comfortable. Squeeze, shortening that distance between the ribs and the hips. So really using the muscle in the waist. Good. And again, breathing out. Lovely, that beautiful squeeze. And then taking one and the other foot down. Great stuff. So let's just bend those legs. I'm going to slide this arm out, ready for that open door. Nice rotation. See if we can clamp those hips together. Breathing out, breathing in. I'm just going to adjust my towel, drawing those shoulders away from the ears. Really feeling that nice opening across the chest. Good. Listening into your breathing. Listening into that body. Shoulders. Core muscles. Noticing what happens. And then from there, when you feel ready, we're going to push ourselves into that position. And this time we'll go straight to that elbow. If you're not comfortable with this, I'm going to get you just to roll over onto your back. So this shoulder, this supporting shoulder, is going to feel really awkward if that elbow is too far out. So if in doubt, just bring it in. Good. Now slide that shoulder blade down that back. Breathe in. Breathe out. And then. So we're going to come over onto our back. So we've taken quite a long time to come onto our backs today. We've done a lot of back work, a lot of side work. So from here, if you're sitting up, we're going to create that C curve. And we're going to just gently feed ourselves down into that lying down position. Now you may need that towel underneath the back of the head just to create that nice long line. And we're going to take those feet hip width apart, knees pointing up towards the ceiling. And then we'll just make sure we got that neutral spine. So we're going to start with some bridging, my friends. So just relax those shoulders. Think about where we're starting. So tighten that belt, draw in that corset, breathe in. And then as you breathe out, we're going to just tilt that pelvis. Push those feet down to the floor, squeeze that bottom, and just gently come to that first stage. Breathe in at the top, and then just coming down, rolling through that spine, top through to bottom. And we'll just go a little bit higher with each one till we get to your full range. And again, we're going to see if we can do 8 of these. And once we get to number 8, we're going to hold it there. Good. Breathe out. Try and make sure those knees don't push out or push in. Really make these hip muscles work to keep them nice and stable. If you do find they push in or they push out, We've got a little trick we can do with each. And it might be worth you putting on the live chat at the end. I'll leave it on just so I can see and I can actually add some tips for you. If you're finding it's not a problem, do not worry. Good. Just keep those shoulder blades sliding down that back. Really using these glutes. If you find that your lower back is aching, you may be pushing up into those ribs. So see if you can just lengthen that spine, use the bottom and the hamstrings, the back of the legs, rather than that lower back. Okay, so try not to over egg the custard, if that makes sense. Now, when we get to number 8, we're going to hold it there. Now, imagine I've lit a little campfire under your bottom. So as soon as you lower it, it's going to burn. So you're going to keep squeezing these bottom muscles. Now, we're going to look up to that ceiling. We're going to float these arms so the palms are facing each other. We're going to take that scissor switch. So it's shoulders. We're not reaching for the floor. We're just letting those shoulders move to their full range. If you want to give them a little bit more challenge, palms facing backwards, palms facing forwards, back of the hands facing behind you. Good. Keep squeezing. We're breathing out and in. We're going to do 4 more. Keep squeezing. And then, with control, all the way back down, one at a time. We're going to bring one knee and the other knee into that chest. We're going to hug it in. Wonderful. Okay. So let's come into our hip rolls now, guys. So we're going to take one foot down, then the other. Knees together. Okay. Feet together. Arms nice and relaxed. Now really allow that trunk to be the master. So those shoulder blades stay just concentrated, melting down into that mat. And we're going to start just letting those knees fall away from center with that outward breath. We're going to think about that belt. It's controlling this movement. And then we'll allow that head to move in the opposite direction. And we're breathing out. Breathing in. This is this wonderful mobilizing movement for that trunk. So if any of you get a stiff back in the morning, this is such a lovely exercise to do on your mattress before you get out of bed. Good. And then when you feel ready, we're going to bring it back up to center. And we're going to take those feet hip width apart again, bring those arms in, make sure we still got those shoulders relaxed. So we're going to see if we can work these abdominals a little bit. So we're going to lift the chest just a fraction away from the mat. So I like to put my hands underneath the back of my head because I sort of find otherwise my neck struggles. If you find you're okay with this, pop that little orange between the chin and your chest. You may be able to just take your hands onto the thighs and lift. I still, after all this time, just need that support to lengthen the back of the neck. If you want to make it more challenging, you can take both hands behind the head or even one hand here. But I'm going to take one hand on my thigh, one behind the head. All I'm going to do is squeeze this belt-like muscle. I'm just going to gently lift the backs of my ribs away from the mat. I'm going to hold it. And then I'm going to slowly lower it down. So we're maintaining the neutral spine. What we're not doing is pushing that lower back down into the mat. So it's just a gentle squeeze, breathe out, and then slowly back down. Good. So again, 8 to 10 of these in your own time. Don't forget that little orange between your chin and the chest. Good. We're not lifting that head. This chin is not doing anything. This position is maintained. The lift is coming from this squeeze here. Okay, so this six-pack muscle is contracting. And then just gently lengthening, but not enough that we have to flex that spine. Good, so maintain that neutral spine. And slowly down. Good, so when we've done our 8, we're going to come all the way back down. Relax those arms by the side. Now, no rest for the wicket. Find that neutral spine. Okay, make sure we're not arching that back. And we're going to bring one knee into tabletop, breathing in. If we can, we're going to bring 2 knees into tabletop. If you're not comfortable with that, we're going to leave 1 foot there. Now, if we can, with that left leg, we're going to just take those toe dips. So notice we're holding that 90-degree angle at the knee. As we take that thigh away from center, as we dip the heel or the toe onto the floor, we're breathing out, breathing in. We're breathing out. So this is level 2 where we're challenging it. Okay, so this would be level 1. Good. Okay. Today. Sometimes we have lots of different levels. And then we're going to change legs. So with 2 legs in tabletop, the leg that was moving becomes the static leg. Good. Now maintain that neutral spine. As this happens, the abdominals want to push away. The back wants to arch. You are not going to let it. And that's where we're getting our core muscle workout. So remember, everything's starting from here and maintaining it as we move those arms and legs. You've got it. Brilliant. Now, when we've done 8 on each side, we're just going to bring those knees in, have a little roll. So we're just going to gently massage that lower back into the mat. That's good. Okay. Great stuff. Now, we're going to just change the scenery a little bit. I'm going to get my band. If you haven't got a band, you can use your towel, okay? You can do it without a band, but what we're going to try and do is some leg circles. So if I was using my towel, again, I'm just going to hook it over there. It's a bit short, but I can just about do it, okay? You can do it without anything, but I do like to assist my own flexibility by putting the band here. Now, we can have this supporting leg straightened to make it more challenging or bent. But what we're going to do is just flex and point that toe. So ideally, it's somewhere around that 90-degree angle. Mine's not quite there yet. I'm getting there after my various lockdown trampoline injuries. Good. And then if we can, we're going to point the toe, but if you prefer it flexed, that's fine. Okay. Now, all we're going to do is relax those arms. We're going to see if we can draw some circles. So this is our leg circle. So imagine I put that spirit level over your hip bones and the little red dots staying in the middle. And imagine as well that I've got a glass of water on my supporting knee. So this opposite leg has got to stay really stable. Now then we're going to change direction. So we're going to do 5 one way and 5 the other way. So we're mobilizing that hip joint. We're really working these core muscles, and there's flexibility work going on for those hamstring group of muscles. Relax those shoulders. So remember, everything starts at that core. Now, when you've done 5 each way, we're just going to change feet, and we'll do the same on the other side. So again, just gently, if you need to sort of bend and straighten just to get into that position. Good. You notice I've just straightened this leg out this time. Okay, so I'm making it a bit more challenging on this side. Good, but I could bend that leg. Now, place that glass of water on that supporting knee, spirit level, over those hip bones, relax those shoulder blades into the mat. We're going to breathe out as we move away from center. Breathe in to return. Good. Brilliant. When you've done that 5 one way, we're going to change sides. and we just bend that knee. Take that band away. And we're going to bring this knee back. Now from here, I'm going to get us to take that outside ankle bone onto the thigh. We're going to take that little stretch for the hips. So just let this knee fall away from center. We're going to bring this knee off the floor. Just gently hug it in. Now I sometimes like to hold on to this leg and just use my sort of strengthen the leg to push it backwards, and then I can just keep that foot flexed. Good. So you'll feel it. It's not the most comfortable stretch, but it's great. It's a really deep muscle in that pelvis called piriformis. You get a little bit of glute stretch as well. So we'll do the same on the other side. So we're basically taking that outside ankle bone onto the thigh, letting this knee fall away from center, keeping that foot flexed if you can. Good. So just let it fall away, get used to it, and then we're just going to pull that thigh towards you. I like to really let that head relax back, let the thigh do the work. I'm just pushing that upwards, and then you're getting that stretch here. So you can feel it deep in your bottom. Oh, I haven't done this for a while. You can tell, my friends. I'm like, oh. Okay, and then we'll relax. Good. So we're going to do one more little abdominal exercise before we turn onto our fronts. And we're going to finish, stretching out, and we'll be done. So what I'd like us to do is that single leg stretch movement. Now I'm going to give you various levels. So we can do single leg tabletop. We can take double. We can also take those arms and those legs. Okay. Opposite arm, you can even do same arm. You can do 2 arms, 1 leg. Avoid 2 arms, 2 legs, because it does put too much strain on that lower back. So certainly when we're not doing gentle Pilates, you might be able to do it with chest lifted, but for now, 1 leg only. So let's start by sort of finding that neutral spine, then think about that movement starting in the trunk. Shoulders relaxed. We're looking up to the ceiling, and then we're going to see if we can bring those knees into tabletop, so directly over those hips. Now I'm going to start just with that leg stretch. Now the lower that foot goes, the more challenging it is for these core muscles to stop the back arching. So if that's too challenging, maybe make that lengthening a bit higher, okay? And again, if that's too challenging, just 1 leg in tabletop. It all depends whether we've had surgeries, if we've had weaknesses, things that have caused weaknesses. So, just listen to your body. Don't be tempted to do the most challenging just because you think you should. So again, we're going to do 8 on 1 leg. When we've done 8 to 10 on 1 leg, we're going to change sides. Good. Now we're going to do 2 sets, so don't get overexcited. So the first set is just finding our way. That's it. So really relaxing those shoulders. Arms are not helping with this at all. So let's get out of the habit of expecting those shoulders to help. And if you're finding that they're tensing, take it down a level. Now we're going to do another set either side. So it can be 4 to 8 on each side, but we're going to up the challenge if we can. So I'm doing same arm, same leg. You can do 2 arms. Breathing out. Make sure your awareness is here. Okay, what we don't want is that back arching. Good. Especially as you start to bring the arms in. You might choose to do 2 arms. You'll really notice that challenge then. I'm having to take my feet higher. Okay, so when we've done that last 8, we're going to bring those knees in. Put that little orange between your chin and the chest. We're going to roll like a ball. So let's just not going any further than those shoulder blades. Shoulders are relaxed. Good. And then just letting that head relax on the mat. Good stuff, friends. All right, we've done well today. We've done really well. We're going to bring this foot down, bring the other foot down. We're just going to see if we can let these knees fall to the side. And then when you feel ready, we're going to bring ourselves onto our fronts. So I would just like us to do a little bit of upper back work before we finish up. So we're going to take that W position. We're going to let that head relax on the towel or the mat. And all we're going to do is that swan dive movement. So relax the bottom, draw that tummy button in, neutral spine, and then we're going to squeeze these shoulder blades together. Lift those forearms away from the floor, and we're going to release. Now, if you feel comfortable, we are going to lengthen those arms out to the side, palms down, and we're going to squeeze and release. We're going to squeeze and release. Breathe out. Now keep drawing that tummy button in. Don't let it dome into the mat. So this, or we can go with that 90-degree angle at the elbow. And we're just going to take one or two more. We're going to release and then push ourselves up into that child's pose. Relax that head and neck. Good. Relax those shoulders. Draw those elbows back. And then when you feel ready, let's stretch out these hip flexors. So what we're going to do today, something a little bit different. We're going to still see if we can slide this foot in front of us, but we're going to place this hand, I'm going to show you this angle actually. We're going to place this hand here, so it's sort of almost supporting the inside. Let me change position so you can see. Good. Now relax those shoulders away from the ears. We're going to tuck that back toes under. And then all we're going to do is just straighten out that leg. So we're feeling that really nice stretch in the hip flexors. Good. And then we're going to release, change sides. Good. So I'll show you from this angle. We're sliding this foot forwards. I've got this hand and this elbow almost supporting the inside of that knee. So hips are square on, shoulders relaxed, chest lifted, straightening out that leg, feeling that beautiful stretch in those hip flexors, drawing those shoulder blades down that back, and then bringing it in and coming back. And then we're going to walk those hands back towards the knees. We're going to see if we can come onto those tiptoes. I'm off my mat. And then when you feel ready, however you feel comfortable getting up, we're going to bring ourselves to that standing position. So I'm going to straighten through my legs. Let those arms relax. Let that head relax. Tighten that belt. Push that tail down towards my knees. I'm going to roll up through that spine. One little segment at a time, till we're back to that nice long position. Camera back in place, chums. So hair all over the place, ponytail awry. Relax those shoulders. So let's see if we can remember some of those principles. Everything's starting with this core. Shoulders relaxed. We're going to lengthen through that spine. Find that comfortable position for the head and neck. Soften the face. Soften your shoulders. We're going to take that breath in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. All the way down to that belly button. Breathe out. Let's take one more.
I'm going to let us just look towards your right shoulder. Take this hand, draw the head very gently. So we're looking towards that right hip. And then gently just allow that hand to help that head come back to center. We'll do the same on the other side. Relax those shoulders, looking to that left shoulder. Very gently, drawing that head so we're looking towards that hip. And release. And then one more breath in. One more breath out. And we give those toes a little wiggle, give those hands a shake. That went too quickly. Good morning, Rosie. How are you today? I was very much looking forward to it. I was actually sat here looking at the clock at 9:20, thinking, go quicker, go quicker. So, hope you enjoyed today's session. Any problems, do get in touch. You know my email, sarah.tag, T-A-G-G, @ceredigion.gov.uk. So anything you'd like to see more or less of, just let me know. But otherwise, have a great rest. Oh, by the way, next Monday, I'll send you a recorded link, but it is Easter Monday, so I won't be here. But you'll have something to follow. Bye-bye.